Good morning, boys and girls, and happy Wednesday. Today we're going to tackle some fractions, so let's get started. Our first problem is 7/8 plus 4/8. If you remember from when we did fractions, if the denominator or the bottom number is the same, then we keep it the same. So I will put 8 as my denominator for my answer. Next, I'm going to add my two top numbers. So 7 plus 4 is 11. So 11/8 is my answer, sort of. It's not finished. It currently is an improper fraction, so I need to break it apart to make it a mixed number. I know that 1 whole using 8 is 8/8. And if I were to take 8/8 from 11/8, how much would I have left? Would be 3/8. So I know that 8/8 is the same as 1 whole. And I have what fraction left? 3/8. So my final answer, I'll circle it just so you can see it, is 1 3/8. Our next problem is a subtraction problem with fractions. It is 12/4 minus 8/4. Some of you might look at this problem and think, oh, I need to break this apart. Remember, you don't have to break it apart. If the denominators are the same, then we can keep it, and then we'll break apart the answer if we need to. So we can see that these denominators are the same, so I know that my denominator will stay the same. So I'm going to keep it as fourths. Now I'm going to do 12 minus 8, which is 4. So my final answer is 4/4, or 4/4, which is the same as what? That's the same as 1 whole. So actually, 1 whole is my answer. Our next problem is going to be a multiplication problem with fractions. We're going to do 7 times 1/2. All right. We did this last week as well, and we're going to go over it again today. So if you don't remember, we have to change something to this 7 so that we can multiply it to 1/2. What we have to do is we have to make a line and put the number 1 underneath the 7, so it's 7/1. So now we can multiply it by 1/2. Now we're going to only multiply the top numbers and then the bottom numbers. So 7 times 1 is 7. 1 times 2 is 2. So you might have as your answer 7/2, which is partially correct, but remember, because it's bigger on top than it is on bottom, that means it's an improper fraction. We need to make it a mixed number. One way we could do this is we could split it apart a bunch of times until we got, how many holes there were. Oftentimes, if there's more than 1 whole in this number, it's easier if we just divide. So if I were to divide 7 by 2, I can see how many times 2 goes into 7. Let's count by 2s. 2, 4, 6. So 3 times. I put my 3 on top. 3 times 2 is 6. I subtract. I get a remainder of 1. If you remember, we write our remainder as the numerator, and the denominator is the number we're dividing by. So our final answer, let me write it bigger, is 3 1/2. All right, the next problem we're going to do is another addition problem, but this time the denominators are not going to be the same. So we're going to do 1/2 plus 3/8. So what I have to do is I have to change one of these denominators to match the other. So one thing, I know that 2 can go into 8 because it's an even number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1/2. I messed that up since I'm writing sideways. I'm going to multiply 1/2 by a number to give me the denominator of 8. So 2 times what gives me 8? 2 times 4 gives me 8. But if I'm doing 4 on bottom, that means I have to do 4 on top as well. So 1 times 4 is 4. And once again, I said 2 times 4 is 8. So I know that 1/2 is actually the same as 4/8. So I'm going to rewrite this problem. I'm going to write it as 4/8 plus 3/8. I rewrote this problem because I needed the denominators to match, and I found out that 1/2 is the same as 4/8. So now I'm going to add the original problem, which is 4/8 plus 3/8 is 7/8. And since it's not bigger on top than it is on bottom, I get to keep it, so my answer is 7/8. Alright, we have one more problem we're going to do together. And it is a comparison between fractions. And we are going to compare 9/10 to 90/100. As you can see that our denominators are not the same. So I'm going to have to do what I did last time, which is multiply so that I can get one of these numbers to match the other. So it's easiest to just do 10 times a number that we're going to find out to give me a denominator of 100. So you should write 9/10 underneath. We're going to multiply to give us a denominator of 100. 10 times what gives me 100? 10 times 10 gives me 100. But if I write it on bottom, I have to write it on top as well. So 9 times 10 is 90. So 9/10 is actually the same as 90/100. So that's like comparing 90/100 and 90/100, which is the same. So our two numbers are equal to. Alright, I know that this might have been a difficult review considering, we haven't done fractions in a while and we only do them about once a week. So if you have any questions, please comment and let Ms. Sweeter I know so that we can help you. Please also send a picture of your work so that we can give you credit for it. And if you loved fractions and you want to do more, go ahead and take a picture of those too, and we will give you an extra dojo. I look forward to working with you tomorrow. Bye.